Right then, this is storyhacking.tv. So we should probably start by understanding why stories work so well in business and in life. I think there are three main reasons, and the first is the simplest, really. Stories connect us, and we've evolved as a very social species, and almost from the first moments of life, we're looking into other people's faces and we're trying to understand what's going on inside their heads. And I think stories are a brilliant way of connecting us to other people. Have you ever been in that situation where you've gone to a pitch or a presentation or something, and you don't really connect with the people in the room until it's finished, until you start sharing your experiences, your stories? And that's because stories act as kind of hooks. And, I see them as kind of Velcro almost. A story has, a good story has lots of hooks in it. So I might say, for example, that I sailed across the Atlantic when I was in my early 20s, which is true story. And if you happen to have an interest in yachts, that is a hook for you. More generally, thematically, you might be interested in adventure or life experiences, or you might have taken a year out, and we can hook into these stories on different levels. In the same way, I might talk about my family. I talk about my kids quite a lot because these sort of themes are shared with other people, and not only do they allow us to understand other people, but they bind us closer together. So, if I talk to you about your kids and your experiences, we will have some shared bonding over that. So that's the first thing. Stories connect us. And good stories, of course, grab us by the throat and they don't let go. And the reason for that is really interesting. I think there's an Italian chap in the 80s, I think, discovered that when we experience stories, our brain is effectively experiencing them as if they were real. So there's a thing in your head called mirror neurons, and this is now an accepted part of neuroscience, that if you're watching an episode of The Walking Dead and the guy is running away from zombies, in some senses, your brain is interpreting that as if it was real. Now, there are no zombies, but like I just talked about, we can extrapolate themes of behaviour and apply them to our own lives. And that is one of the accepted reasons why we are all so enchanted and bewitched by stories. We want to know what happens next. And the reason is our brains have learned, like the lizard part of your brain at the back that is focused on keeping you alive, has learnt that the more it understands about the world and the more it can run through these simulations, if you like, these story simulations, the better chance it has of survival. So that's really interesting, I think, that we kind of treat stories as kind of flight simulators for the mind. And if you think about how our models of reality are created, there's a brilliant part in one of David Eagleman's books about how the brain is basically, it's sitting in a cave that's completely dark, and the brain has no sensory perception of itself, and all the models that we build of reality, I'm sitting here looking at this phone, this piece of metal and glass, and I can feel the temperature of the room and all that kind of stuff. It is all concocted. It is kind of a neural simulation of the world. And that's one of the reasons why dreams are so vivid, because they're using exactly the same processes as we use when we're awake to create this sort of model of reality. And if you were a bat, you might experience the world in a different way. If you were a bird, you might see different colours. If you were certain kinds of insects, you'd only experience the world in terms of gradations of heat. So our kind of our perception of our reality, if you think about that in terms of mirror neurons and using stories to kind of experience the world in a different way and to test drive the world, if you like, is really powerful. So those are the first two. We've got stories connect you, and stories allow you to experience the world without the inherent dangers, because you're not really running from a zombie, obviously. Right, and then the third thing I think is really interesting, but it's more hidden, it's more nuanced, and I think that is that stories allow us to navigate a really complicated world, very easily. And I'll give you one simple example of this. When I sold my business in 2018, I talked to the guy who was buying it about the first 100 days or so. And I said, at the end of the 100 days, your clients, this company's clients, will be telling themselves a simple story. Despite all the work you're doing, despite all the the financial and the legal and the marketing and all that stuff, they will either be saying to themselves, since Nick left this business, it's gone downhill a bit. Or they'll be saying, since Nick left this business, it's really started to do some interesting things. And the guy had the chance to affect that story, to sort of to turn the narrative in his direction, if he thinks about the fact that stories work to simplify life. One other quick example. We talk all the time in business about how other people are stupid, but in my experience, stupidity is really rare, and it is usually the case that if you think someone's stupid, or if you say someone's stupid, you are just telling yourself a simple story, so you don't have to do the work to understand what their situation actually is. And I found that idea really useful in business. Anyway, those are your three things. They connect people, they allow us to experience the world without the inherent dangers, and they also simplify the world. If you can get a grasp on these three things that stories do, you can really use them to accelerate your business. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.